What's going on, you guys? It's Canadian Saitama here from Morituri with another health-related video. Today's topic is macronutrients. Now, I'm not going to be going too detailed, but I want you guys to understand the basics of what each one of them does, along with being able to identify all three of them. So, what are macronutrients? Well, the term nutrients is simply used to describe the compounds in food that are necessary to our body's functional needs. They are further broken down into two main groups, macro along with micronutrients. Now, do not mistake macro and micro as levels of importance. Micronutrients are arguably more important than macronutrients. While I say this, both are essential for survival, and one should not be consumed in lieu of the other. Macronutrients are further categorized into carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Now, if the sequencing of these groups seem different than how people usually present them, good. Thanks for noticing that, and there is a purpose within my doing so. Macronutrients and micronutrients differ in the sense that a much higher volume of macronutrients need to be consumed when compared to micronutrients. Hence the use of the prefix macro, and when used as an adjective, can be translated to meaning large scale. Now, the reason I mentioned carbohydrates first is because they are probably the most important macronutrient, as it is the primary and preferred source of energy for cells within our body. Everything you can do with your body and all the processes that happen within it are made possible through carbohydrates, specifically glucose, which is at the root of all saccharides. You should be getting no less than 50% of your calories from carbohydrates, and up to 60 to 65% if you participate in highly demanding activities throughout the week, or you are an athlete. Fats are mentioned second, as they are needed in the second highest concentration next to carbohydrates. Fats can be used as an energy source, but not in the same way as carbohydrates. You first have to go into a state called ketosis, where your body has basically used up all of its glycogen stores, which is glucose stored in the muscles and liver for energy output, and does not replenish them for around 2 to 3 weeks. Your body then has to use adipose tissue, or stored fats, to make up for that lack of incoming glucose. It's not ideal to do this, and definitely not for extended periods of time, as this can negatively affect your insulin levels, metabolism, and glucose tolerance over the long term. So here, I'm referring to dietary fats, not adipose tissue, or more commonly known as stored fats, which is something different and is stored energy from any type of calorie that is taken in excess. Fats are the easiest, meaning they take the least amount of energy to break down and absorb. So people often associate stored fats with dietary fats for this reason, and the many other effects dietary fats have on your body composition, and that's something that I will cover in another video. Back on track now. Fats keep your skin healthy, regulate your hormone levels, and make sure adequate response is shown to stimulus, maintaining immune function and the absorption of many vitamins. There's more, but I'll save that for a fat-specific video. Finally, one's diet must not fall below 15% of your total calories consumed, period. This can go all the way up to 25%. Now, before I move on, I want to say, training aerobically in an oxidative state, a portion of fat is used for energy alongside carbohydrates, but carbohydrates are undoubtedly the body's preferred source of energy. On to protein. Now, if you see the pattern, then this is the macronutrient you need to consume the least of in total volume. I bet you didn't think I would say that. Well, it's true. Well, everyone talks about getting your protein in and drinking your protein, your amino acids, your glutamine, casein, whey, isolate, concentrate, blah blah blah, the list goes on. I feel like it's every other word that comes out of people's mouth when it comes to exercise and nutrition. And that's only a mild exaggeration. Yeah, protein is so important, and it is paramount in maintaining your cells, repairing dead ones, and building new ones, even expanding on current ones. But you just don't need that much of it, or absolutely not as much as you think. Honestly, all you need to do is maintain an internal pH balance. Protein tips the scale to make that happen, but at a much lower concentration than supplement companies will have you believe. If you're an average person training 150 minutes a week, that's 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week, with a low to moderate intensity, you only really need 10% of your calories to come from protein. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're an athlete training every day, sometimes multiple times a day, with vigorous exercise and moderate exercise, you still only need 15 to 17% of your protein consumption of your total calorie intake. Granted, when you venture outside of the norm, such as treatment of ailments through natural means, you see fluctuations to what I'm saying. However, for people without these conditions, requiring alterations, these ranges will work wonders for you. But before I put all of this information into action, I want to say that excessive protein consumption is very tough on your kidneys, so it is important not to overdo it. While you don't need to consume the recommended amount, don't go crazy with it. Most diets will have a very high protein intake because it is very effective for weight loss, but only because it takes a lot more energy to use the protein than any other macronutrient. This just results in a further caloric restriction. Now that we've explored an overview of what each macronutrient is responsible for, let's put it into action through some examples that I've prepared for you today. The first example is going to be weight loss. So typically what you'll see is very high protein, low fat if any, and lower carbohydrates, because a lot of people believe that carbohydrates will make you fat, which simply isn't true. Another typical diet is for the ketogenic diet that I talked about earlier, and that's where you take really high protein, a very high fat content, probably 50 to 60%, and low, if any, carbohydrates at all. Usually you see less than 100 grams, sometimes even less than 50 grams of carbohydrates. I recommend moderate protein, a maintenance level of fat between 15 to 20% of your daily calories, and a high carbohydrate between 50 to 60% of your daily calories. Example number 2. This is muscle gain. Typically what I'll see is ridiculous levels of protein, upwards to 30 to 35% of your daily calories, and I've even heard 2 grams for every pound of your body weight, which is horrible for your kidneys. Low fats, I'm hearing 5 to 10% of your daily calories, which is way too low to maintain your hormonal function. And moderate carbohydrates, which is 45 to 55% of your daily calories, which honestly, that's fine. I agree with that. I recommend, however, 15 to 20% of your daily calories coming from protein. This will give you a little bit more to experience some of that thermogenic effect of taking more energy to break the food down to up your metabolism, while still keeping it within that 15 to 20% range, so that you're not taking in too much and it's not too hard on your body breaking that down all the time. A moderate fat consumption of around 15 to 25% of your daily calories, so that you can maintain immune function, you can maintain healthy skin, and most importantly, if you're exercising, keeping your hormones balanced. It's very important. High carbohydrates, and this is your discretion, but I recommend at least 50%, upwards to 65% of your daily calories. This will allow you to maintain energy output for those anaerobic as well as the aerobic exercises, and it will keep you focused and energetic throughout the day as well. Now you can see how the public information differs a lot from what studies have proven to be true. For the reasons I've explained, the ratios I've proposed will get you optimized results. If you learned something from this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be covering each nutrient in more depth soon enough, so hit that bell to receive notifications when we release new content. As always, the comment section is open to your suggestions, as I would love to hear your thoughts and what topics you want me to cover next. Until next time, keep healthy, and this week, ask more from yourself.